Happy anniversary, Soph.
Oh my, this is 100 episodes, right? This is our
100 episodes.
I'd say that's an anniversary. That's really
Absolutely.
and we wanted to have Gay Hendricks with us to have a conversation because he obviously is so special.
Yeah, he offers some really beautiful frameworks around how we create change in our lives and let go so that we can let in. There's some really beautiful tools, as always, but a particular flavor and wisdom is brought when Gay joins us as well.
I love that. One of the things I really loved is the stories of the two files, which I won't tell you what the two files are. You're gonna have to listen to the show. But this idea that there are ways that life happens that we can really receive in one way or the other, and that makes all the difference, I thought was really a juicy kind of distinction.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good one. Of course.
Of course. All right.
Happy 100.
Well, good morning, my friends. We have a guest today. We have a special guest.
Someone a little familiar to some of us.
Well, we've only known each other 46 years, but
That's just a blink of an eye, a blink of an eye.
Mhm.
So we were really excited to have you today, Gabe. Really, you're good at wrapping things up, moving on to the next thing. And I would love to have a conversation about how do we actually, like practically, how do we actually do that?
oh, that's such a great question. Well, it gets us into two huge subjects that are so important that nobody ever teaches us in school. And that's the subject of how to complete things,
Mhm.
spotting incompletions and completing them. And then also um, how that clears a space for something new to come through.
Mm.
And so with completion, you really also have to consider letting go because in order to complete something, you have to kind of let go of your old past position and do something that makes a completion.
Mm.
So let me just tell you, I've been thinking about completion for a long time. And one of my books called Five Wishes, I identified my five big wishes for what I wanted with my life. Number one being Katie, that I
Number
wanted
one
to
is in the
create a
room.
loving, long lasting relationship with a woman with whom I could grow and change over the years.
Uh,
And I didn't come up with that until I was 34, I think.
uh,
So I definitely wasn't born with it. And I had to make every relationship mistake in the book between 17 and 34. Uh, but when I got to be 34, I made this list of the five things I wanted. And one of them was the relationship. And the second one, though, was to live in a state of completion, meaning nothing unsaid or nothing unlistened to from other people, so to complete whatever I was doing so that I was always in that state of completion. I was never yearning for some sort of incompletion or see two big problems with incompletion. By the way, am I going on at
Oh,
length too much here?
great.
no,
Okay.
I'm just
Think of
delighted
something.
when I can see all of
Yeah,
the
all like literally, I can
stirring.
see all of us are like, mhm,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
going.
Well, one thing where people get really tied up and stay incomplete is because they're trying to complete something that happened in the past.
Mhm.
And then the other folks who are not doing that are busy not completing things because they fantasize something in the
In
future
the
that's going to
future.
happen to them that's bad or something
Mhm.
like that. So, what's in the way of completion is the past and the future.
Oh,
and,
that's all.
and so, but the interesting thing is, once you master this one super important thing, you don't have to worry about that again. And the important thing is that the past and the future are not things that you can control. You can't manage the future. You certainly can't manage the past.
Correct.
Amazing amount of life energy for people goes into trying to replay some conversation that they had 32 years ago and or fantasizing about something that's going to happen.
Right. It's not
next.
good now,
Yeah.
but in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so learning how to get into a state of completion a lot involves learning how to let go of things that are not within your power to control.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And being an old good Latin student of Miss Emma Williams, I happen to know that one of human beings' first self-help books, maybe even the first one, that was written just actually before the Bible started getting put together, was written by a gentleman named Epictetus. And he said, the first thing you got to master in life if you want to be happy is that some things are within your control and some things are not. And the wisdom to know the difference
Yeah.
makes you a real human being.
Now,
Wow, what a piece of wisdom, because every day in 12-step groups, they're basically
what they
saying
need, yeah.
Epictetus's wisdom.
Mhm.
But if you think about it, it's so important because the amount of energy that gets wasted thinking about the past, trying to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic about something that's already gone down and you're still trying to fight it. Like my grandmother, God bless her, I loved her madly and dearly and unreservedly, but she refought the Civil War every day of her life.
Oh,
And she had been in the plantation nobility before the Civil War, and then she had to marry a commoner, so to speak, at worst a Yankee. She had to
wow.
marry a Yankee because she was the last unmarried woman in St. Clair County. and
But she rehashed the
but
whole.
every
Yeah.
day, I mean, she had one great male hero in her life, Robert E. Lee, and
Ooh.
the head of the Confederacy. And so, but even she would argue with my granddad sometimes in her 70s or 80s about the fact that he was from the North, and so how could he possibly understand her because he
Right.
was a Yankee,
What an energy leak. It's like
Yeah,
a hole in your.
Also, not being able to connect with the possibility of love and creating something that worked for everybody in the present.
Yes.
And then that never happened. And what I was reflecting on as you were speaking is something that a way that we've used this in our relationship. We decided a long time ago that we would live in completion with each other.
Mhm.
So, like, whenever any of us goes out the door, we know that we've communicated everything of
Yeah.
value.
Nothing is unsaid.
That we don't have any feelings or any communications that are incomplete. And boy, that took some time to really master how to say, oh, I have a feeling coming up, or I remember something that I didn't share with you, so that living in completion allows the opening to what's wanting to occur right now,
Mhm.
but it also opens the possibilities of what wonderful thing can we create now, because we're not rehashing the past,
Mhm.
or worrying about the future.
I was actually watching a press conference this morning with the gentleman, Scotty Scheffler, who won the British Open yesterday. And he said a couple of the most enlightening things. One, they asked him how he's feeling, and he said, well, I feel great. I just won a golf tournament. But he said, I can guarantee you, in a couple of days, I'm going to go back to my normal level of dissatisfaction.
That was great.
That's refreshingly honest and insightful.
That's
But the
great.
other thing he said actually made me cry. He said that it
Mm.
feels great to win a golf tournament, and but if you're a youngster listening to this, know that no golf tournament or anything else in the realm of accomplishment means anything unless you have a good connection with yourself and your family. And he
Wow.
said, this is really beautiful. He said, if I ever get the feeling that golf is getting in the way of my relationship with my wife or my son or my family,
I would
that's the
stop.
last day I'm ever going to play golf.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I was very moved by that, because what he's really talking about is the same subject we're talking about, because you have to be like, if you get good at a sport, I think you really got to be good at letting go of the last shot.
Yes.
Because if
Or
you
the
walk
next
around the
one.
tennis court snorting and everything, like,
Or the
Yes.
pickleball court.
Yes. Same. Same.
yeah, you'll have to enlighten me sometimes about the satisfactions of pickleball. I haven't quite grokked in on that
Very
side.
much, yes, and I would love to play with you. And very much, there's a saying on the pickleball court that when you miss a shot and you can see the person, what me, any person walks back, we call it the goldfish that has no memory. So we'll say to each other, goldfish, and it's like, just get back here, like
Yeah.
forget what just happened, just be back to being present. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that in life in general, and also that's one reason I like to hang around with animals.
Mm.
You know, like used to visit a friend of mine that I was writing a film script with, and he had this gigantic dog. But the dog was so zen-like because it didn't matter if you'd been gone 15 weeks or 15 minutes. He was overjoyed to see you, no matter, you could walk out front. Like this friend of mine smoked, and so we'd walk out front so he could have a cigarette. And when we come back in, the dog was so happy to see us again. It was like the first day he'd come home from the kennel or something. And my cat does the same way. I have one little cat, Greta, that loves to drink water out of a faucet. And I stand and I turn on the faucet for her and I stand patiently while she has her full drink. And then I ask her, "Are you finished?" And then I turn it off. And then as she walks past, I'll go to pet her and she'll slink away, like, "Oh, don't touch
Oh,
me."
oh, wow. Because she was in that moment and now she's in the next moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. I just
So,
realized why I called my company is called Be Current.
hmm.
I
Well,
just,
yeah,
what you
that's
just
it,
said is
because
exactly this feeling of like, I don't need that stuff I don't need, nor do I need to fear this thing that I don't know what it is yet. It's like just be in this current, this moment. I love that. Mm.
yeah, because if you think about it, if you can get out of the past and get out of the future for a moment and just be present,
Well,
the universe is a very creative place and it will start
Mhm.
to create things if you have that stillness in you, if you cultivate that,
mhm,
and particularly cultivate letting go of future fantasies
Mhm.
and letting go of past rehashments.
mhm.
If you can condition yourself to noticing when you're
Mhm.
hashing the past or notice when you're trying to fantasize about the future, just come right back into the present. Also, it gets into this big subject I know we're all interested in about how to create your life, your perfect life manifestation. And
Before you get into that, I want to ask you what your favorite, most effective let go move or moves are that we could suggest for
Like a
people.
technique,
Because
like a
I
how
think
to,
everybody would agree it'd be great if I could let go of the past and the future, but like,
the how.
how am I going to do that?
well, that's a great question. I'm just looking over here for a prop to use because one way you can, I mean, uh, it's done in here, but the basic idea you know how to do, which is if you want to let go of something, you release your grip and it goes. So the same way you release your grip on the past, you see yourself rehashing the past and you say, "Oh, okay, huh," and you let your grip go on it. But there's a second way that I think is even better once you get good at this one, which is that letting go of something can also mean holding it but not be attached to it.
Mm.
I'm holding this, but I'm not attached to it.
Yeah.
So that's another way
Mm.
of being with something to say, okay, let's say you're working on your anger. Okay, I have this anger. Next time I'm angry, I'll let it go. Well, good if you can do that. But another thing to do is embrace your anger,
Mm.
make a space for it, love it like an old friend because it's been with you longer than your body has. In other words, for hundreds of thousands of years, human beings have been growing the machinery to get angry, sad, scared, sexy, so forth. We've been growing that machinery now for millions of years, actually. And so, who are we to argue with it? The best thing to do is learn to be with it
Mm.
and use the energy for your own creative purposes. That's what I do with mine. I don't try to stop feeling angry or
Mhm.
stop feeling sad or stop feeling scared or anything like that. I just notice it and embrace it and move on. Because the fact is that Yeah, who was it said that most human beings only? Eric Byrne, the great psychiatrist that founded transactional analysis, he said most human beings don't have 15 minutes of genuine intimacy in their entire lifetime.
Right.
He was about 80 when he said that.
Oh.
Yeah, and he'd been working with people all his life. But if you think about it, if you take intimacy not just to mean closeness to
Yeah.
another,
Mm.
but closeness to yourself.
For
And
you.
being willing, like the reason I've loved and adored and been with Katie for so many years is that I love the way she can be with herself,
Mhm.
and I love the way I can be with her, even if there's
With
something
yourself.
going on and I might not like. But that's a good bit of love, is how much space you
Mm.
can open up to and how much space you can give the other person to be exactly who they are. And once people get underneath their personas for a few years, it becomes possible to have relationships that tremendously release creativity
Mhm.
in both people.
A
And
little.
that's what we've been up to for all these years.
Do you think people have, that's a trend I've seen where people have a hard time letting go because letting go would mean that what they did, it's almost like there was a judgment of how they did what they did. And so letting go would mean seeing that maybe it was wrong or they made a mistake or they have like holding that judgment is sometimes what seems to be in the way of people letting go.
Yeah, that judgment function of the mind is, well, it's handicaps the past and the future.
Mhm.
Because if you're judging things that happened in the past, you're continuing to
Mhm.
dust the deck chairs on the Titanic. I mean, the ship is going down already. And so we get in the habit of trying to avoid the present
Mhm.
by dwelling on the past and avoid the present by dwelling on the future. And it handicaps us tremendously because then we can't say, what would I like to invent now?
Mhm.
Hmm. And that gets in the way of manifestation big time because, like I, I was over at the club where I play golf um, a while back. And as I was walking in, there was a guy parking this brand new, like $400,000 Ferrari, red, gorgeous Ferrari, and he was getting out of it, and his trophy girlfriend was unwinding her 6 foot gorgeous fashion model body from it. And so,
Because that's what you get when you get a Ferrari. You
yeah,
get you
You
get
get
a
the
whole
thing. You get
girlfriend to house
it
with.
comes
you
with
have
the
a
body in
catalog at
it.
the Ferrari dealership, and you can pick. Um, but what happened, I played golf and then I came out and I was coming out the driveway. And at the end of the driveway on the road, there was the Ferrari. And there was the guy on the phone. I could hear him with the dealership about a quarter of a mile away. He's screaming, why won't my car? Why, I just bought this thing last week. I paid you guys $500,000 for it. And now it's what am I supposed to do? And the trophy girlfriend is
Wow.
oh man. So it's the same thing that Scotty Scheffler says. If you pin anything out there,
Yes.
a feeling in here,
Mhm.
well, that poor guy had probably been trying to accomplish something to get away the pain of having the other kids beat him up when he was 5 years
By
old.
having that
And he
Ferrari
was,
and the Ferrari let him down. It's no
yeah, and the
longer.
Ferrari said, oh no, there goes my ego right there on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Now
Wow.
everybody's going to pass me on the way out driving their junker cars, and here mine won't start.
And here I am.
Anyway, I learned a lot from that moment because it was a real teaching moment too. I sort of wanted to stop and say, hey, but I wanted to keep my
Does your
nose
girlfriend need a
intact and the
ride?
front of my face unbloodied.
Oh, I love it.
By the way, I recently saw a cartoon on Instagram. I don't remember if I sent it to you, but it was an old-fashioned cartoon of two like 1890s women all in their finery sitting in a room having a tarot card reading. It was
Okay.
a seance kind of thing. That was very popular back then too. And the tarot card reader was laid out the cards and she says, well, the cards say that you are the source of a lot of your own problems. And the recipient of that looks at her and says, bitch, reshuffle the cards.
Like that. Give me something else.
Actually, in the early days of my counseling practice, back about 50 years ago, before I'd learned the art of um, how to deliver these kind of messages, I once gave that message to a woman, which basically was, and this was in the first session, and it was clear to me that she was causing a lot of her problems. And I said, and she was presenting herself as the victim of everything. And I said, one thing for you to consider between now and next time is, think about how you might be responsible for some of the things that you're complaining about. She threw her purse at me. Yeah,
Literally, physically.
she actually physically threw her purse at me. And this was not a small thing, this was
A
and,
double.
and stalked out of the office. And then she stalked back in and grabbed her purse and stalked out of the office. And but
Wow.
I'm happy to say she came back and
We worked it out. But that
we
you
worked
said
it out.
something
But
a minute ago that I'm curious because that is exactly a perfect segue from this. Why are people not, like you said, we avoid the present? Why do we avoid the present?
why? Why? Because it's wildly creative and changes our lives.
And it has lots of energy.
And if you can stay in the past and the future, you avoid having
What,
to do
life?
the
I
work that
avoid
you're
life
here to do.
course?
Yeah,
Why?
you,
Why
you
am I
avoid
afraid
your
of that?
life and the opportunities and the challenges, but and you kind of keep yourself in a little box.
But why? Why? I want to know why.
It's
Fear.
it's fear, basically. It's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of wild creativity. It's the fear of having to change your life.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
first time I was in Europe many years ago, I was on a park bench, and a woman, I saw her walking across the park. I was just sitting there sipping an espresso, and she came hiking very purposefully across the park. And then she saw the empty space on the bench, and she sat down on the bench. And she had this very clean pair of sneakers on. And I commented on them, and it turned out she was from Arizona and spoke English. And I said, "Wow, are those new?" And she said, "Yes, it's my sixth pair, six." And I said, "Good grief, where'd you walk from?" And she said, "Arizona." And
She's in Paris, by the way.
and she was in Paris. See, and I said, "Well, how did that happen?" And she had a big wedding ring on. And I said, "Do you have a husband?" And she said, "Oh yeah, he's back in Arizona." And I said, "Well, how did it happen?" And she said that she'd been a school principal all her life. When she retired at 65, she told her husband, "I'm going to walk around the world, and I want you to come with me.
Walk.
I want to walk around the world." It was her bucket list thing. She was in great health, and she wanted to walk around the world. And so, but you know what her husband said? No.
He's in
The
Arizona.
reason why? Because he didn't want to miss his favorite TV show.
Oh my God.
Oh, I mean,
That
she told
hurts.
me this right on the park bench. I mean, I knew this lady for 10 to 15 minutes max, and she changed my life. And I said, okay, I got the message. Never going to do that. Never going to settle for anything less than my potential. I saw a cartoon once that, RIP. He died with his potential fully intact.
Oh,
I don't want to be like,
ouch.
but here's the nice thing. After a few minutes, the woman stood up and said, "Well, gotta run." And I said, "Well, where are you going?" And she said, "Philadelphia." I'm not Philadelphia. Portugal.
Oh, Portugal.
Oh, Portugal. But she was walking this whole thing. Like she was just walking.
Well, she had taken an airplane across the water. She
Right,
wasn't
she didn't
that
swim.
good.
She didn't swim from Arizona.
Well, I just had
No
a memory.
ocean.
It was even better because she started walking toward California, and she walked to California
From
and then-
Arizona.
from out, and then she decided she wanted to go the other direction, and so she walked all the way. And
It's like Forrest Gump. It's just like Forrest Gump is just running across the country.
Wow.
Yeah, and when I knew her, she'd been on the road about a year and a half, and she said to her husband, "Come, let's get together whenever you start missing me, fly out, and we'll get together for a few days, and then you can go back to your TV shows."
Wow.
And so that's how they arranged it.
Well,
Well,
Remember you telling me a few years ago about these, you were talking about what we can control and what we can't control, that you have a system of folders, like you have a folder.
yes,
You literally imagine when something comes your way, is this something I can control or something I can't?
yes, we call it the two files.
yeah, we have
Yeah.
in our trainings, we got give people two actual manila files and have them start filing the things that they have control over and the in control. But guess which folder is much larger? It's the things I cannot control, uh, which is
Yeah.
most of life. And, you know, I come back to this thing about having a relationship with yourself as the starter place, because at some point we need to stop judging ourselves and start loving ourselves.
Mhm.
And a lot of people wake up to that message in their 40s and 50s once they've tried everything else. They've tried hating themselves for 40
Ferraris
years.
and all.
That's just making them sick.
Yeah, radical self-improvement and getting rid of people that they think are causing their misery.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we really need to stay focused on the essential, which is while our brief time on earth here, the most satisfying thing I know how to do is to have close, loving relationships with other people.
Mhm.
And another big thing that I know how to do is I know how to stay out of the past and future so I can invent things from the present and celebrate the present. And in that, if you get busy doing that, you don't have much time or energy to start fondling the past or trying to hash out the future. It just doesn't work if you're busy. See, human beings are called to express our genius. What we're here to do is express who we really are. And the other part of that is to make our biggest contribution to other people. And making that contribution has a satisfaction in it that just owning your genius, I mean, that feels good. But when you start expressing it, oh,
Makes a really big difference.
yeah, one of my favorite quotations is from the Gospel of Thomas, which didn't make it into the official Bible, and you'll see why in a moment. There are two things that got it booted out of the Bible.
There's
One
a swear
is
word.
and in part of the Gospel of Thomas, and the Acts of John, uh, Jesus leads a round dance, uh, just like a Sufi dance, you know, a round dance where people are
In the
uh,
circle and
in the
moving
circle and
together, yeah.
moving. And the other thing, it has this one verse, which I think people ought to really know about, which is if you bring forth what is within you, what is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what is within you will destroy you.
Will destroy you.
And I don't want to put a negative spin on anything, but I've certainly seen a whole lot of people in my life that didn't do the thing they wanted to do, you know, and they,
Because for a whole bunch of
for a whole
reasons, they
bunch
had
of
to
reasons.
wait until they had finished the or until the kids were grown. Or they're,
Yeah, my mom
Yeah.
always wanted to go to the UK and visit Ireland and England, and she could have easily done it. In fact, on one occasion, I said, I'm going to England
Come with me.
and come with me. I will pay for it, X, Y, and Z. And she said, no, I could never do that. And it was always what the reason was she could never do that. And it was, of course, always children and then grandchildren and all that. And then, but what the reason was she couldn't go to Europe with me was because my aunt, who lived next door, and they were incredibly close sisters, um, that my aunt loved the way my mother made her coffee in the morning, and she would bring it over to her. Oh, you know, I mean, it's a sweet, wonderful thing to do, but as a reason to avoid
To
your life
avoid.
dream, I don't buy it. You know, that's a person who's committed to misery rather than acceleration and authenticity and growth. But anyway, bless their hearts, both of them. My aunt died when she was 86, being looked after by my mother and her maid. And now my mother has passed on, and I have been left with a wonderful message from them, which is don't waste a minute making your life dreams come true. And
Yeah. And I also wanted to give you all an image of how much I appreciate your ability to let go so that you're present for the next thing, which sounds really like the key to manifestation. One of his, I can remember several years ago where one of his books that he had completed arrived, the box of books arrived from
Wow.
the publisher,
Mhm.
and it sat in the kitchen for a couple of days unopened.
Wow.
And then we opened it and he took it out and he went, "Oh, yeah," and put it down. And then,
Well
wow,
done.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
well
was
done.
he and I remember that so vividly because your ability to let go, even of something you've devoted your whole, your life and your intellect and your labor, and then it's just gone. And that ability, I wanted to underline that because I think that's key to being open to the next wave. So like sitting out there as a surfer, and if you don't really look for the next wave, you can both get, inundated by it, but you can also miss a great wave if you're, on the shore going, "Oh, I didn't do that one right." And so letting go and then getting, back into the ocean, like the essence ocean, and being ready for the next wave.
Mm.
That's a real secret of manifestation.
I remember coming to your house a few years ago. There was a party, and something on the wall will stay with me forever. It said something along the lines of "no small talk, no
Yes.
small talk." And then
Yes.
the reason it's tagging to what you are talking about now is that the depth of those conversations, they require a commitment and a time, and like we can't have that many people in our lives when we go this deep in
Right.
keeping it current at all times. I find that
Mhm.
it's quite a, I mean, it's quite a commitment to stay engaged with people that way.
Yes.
Well, I think it's a stressful, unconscious commitment to engage with people any other way.
Yeah.
That if you don't engage essence to essence
Mm.
Yeah.
with people, like I know Katie is such a master of that. She'll say something to the woman who's checking her out at the grocery store who's been doing this thing for 7 hours,
Mhm.
and Katie will say something to the woman that will make the woman, kind of
Take
come
that.
into the present.
Yeah.
And I admire that tremendously
Thank
about
you.
you.
Yes, that opportunity to, in this moment, what's wanting to emerge? What's wanting to emerge through me or between us? That's what you and I do.
Mhm.
Is we're in every moment
Show
kind of
up.
letting go of the last thing that we said and what wants to emerge now. And that living in discovery is what I've enjoyed with Gay now for so many years. When you're not in the past or the future, there's this wonderful world of discovery and sharing and co-creating that is so different than who gets to be right, and who gets to suffer, which is how most people measure their relationships rather than, "Oh, what's the next adventure?"
Mm. How do you identify? Like, I feel like it's a physical thing for me, like in my chest. Like, how do you identify when you're not in the present? For someone who's trying to interrupt the pattern
Mm.
of maybe being stuck in the past or projecting the future, what is a key? What can we share with people that helps even notice that that's what's happening if you don't have a Gay or a Katie in your
Mm.
pocket?
Well, since it's all about fear, fear is the core thing that blocks people from being in the present. My invitation is to get on a good relationship with fear,
Mm.
Mm.
because then you begin to notice when you're feeling anxious, and every time you're not in the present, you're experiencing some kind of anxiety about the future or about the past. You're engaged with something that's incomplete, and incompletion fires up adrenaline. And when you're incomplete about something, if you get really angry at your boss, but your boss will fire you if you say, "Hey, you don't act like a jerk," and so you get angry at your boss, but can't express it. And you walk out the door, and, you know, you go home, and then 10 minutes later, you yell at your kid, because you didn't
Yeah,
complete
because
that
it's staying
thing.
in you. Yeah.
I worked with a woman once that was a vice president of a bank, and she suffered from migraines. when we documented carefully, I had her observe them, and they would often happen at closing time when she had to look at a thing which showed all the stuff the bank had done that day and make sure it matched to the penny everything else that had gone out. And she was good at that. But what she was carrying around was an incomplete thing from the past, which she'd had since the sixth grade, where she'd been, I don't know, elected treasurer or something, but didn't feel competent and felt really anxious with it. And she was still trying to push that anxiety around years later. And to top it all off, our boss would often come in, the president of the bank, and say, "Oh yeah, hey, something just happened. I know you got to pick up Kevin at 5:30 for soccer practice, but can you get somebody else to do it today?" And so she'd get in this bind.
Well, she was also incomplete with not being able to say no.
No, she couldn't. Yes, and that was a big step where she said, "No, we've talked about soccer practice and my need to go get Kevin.
It's important. I'm gonna go
And
now.
so I'm going to do that, and all it took was one, what I call 10-second sweaty conversation,
Yeah.
because they don't take long. And at worst, 10-minute sweaty conversation, if it really gets complicated. But I've been doing this for seeing people in seminars and therapy and so forth since 1968, which is how many years? I don't know. 50.
Almost 70.
57, because I'm 58 and I was born in 67.
There you go.
Okay, well, I've been doing it that long, and I haven't seen any problems yet, relationship problems that couldn't be solved in 10 minutes of clear communication. Putting those 10 minutes together, sometimes we've had people in here 20, 30 years married who are still having the same fight they had on their wedding night.
Yeah, and still do, sort of rearranging those, deck chairs and, thinking they're going to come with a different outcome. The thing that was occurring to me, to your question about how do you notice, is I invite people to check into their sensations.
Well,
And that's a really great, so if you feel tight, are uncomfortable or anxious, like where are you experiencing that? Giving your attention to it, letting yourself breathe into it, letting it move a little bit, that unfreezes it. And then you start to get the information about what might be held there, a communication or a feeling you didn't let yourself feel, or it could actually also be an appreciation that you didn't express. So it's not always something that's wrong. It's like, oh, I never really told you how beautiful you were in that dress. And now it's too late. So those, it's often about regret of something that you wanted to do, but you didn't let yourself. So the sensations will give you a key to what's wanting to be explored.
I love that. And once you identify one, I'd love to hear from both of you. How do you start? I know how to once the conversation is started, I find that it's a little bit easier, but how do you start a conversation that's a sweaty conversation?
With a 10-second expression of exactly something that's going on with you that's unarguable, like my stomach is tight right now, or I feel hungry, or I felt sad about something you said. See, all of those take 10 seconds, and they require a particular skill that human beings don't get much training in, which is the skill of going inside and wondering, what is that feeling? What am I actually feeling? Oh, my belly's tight. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, I feel sad right now. Oh, those are little moments of discovery that change lives tremendously. I mean,
they're moments of completion too, because something has arisen. I complete it by expressing it. And then that's like unkinking the hose of more creativity, more sharing that can then come through, because it doesn't have to try to move through all of the blocks of the things you didn't say and the things you didn't feel. So just saying something that's unarguable right now gets the rust out of the system and starts a flow.
So you start without even knowing yet. It sounds like there is an unknown. I just start with what's here, but I don't know how it's going to land. It doesn't.
Exactly. You don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's the level of all the resistance to feeling those kind of things, and you have to kind of get through that. Well, let's say somebody has done something that hurts your feelings, and the expression, the 10-second sweaty expression would be, I feel sad right now. And it started when you said dot, dot, dot.
Mhm.
That's a very clear kind of communication. To get to that, though, people have to get through levels of, oh, I can't say things like that to other people, and I'm scared of their reaction and all of that.
And that's not nice.
Yeah, and it's not right.
And I want them to like me. I want them to
Yes,
like me.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. And if I'm myself, I think that down under it is if I'm myself, I'm going to be rejected or people will not
Well,
like it.
you're
They're going to
lovable.
find out that I'm really unlovable. And
Yeah.
so opening up to, I've even advised people to say, I have something I want to share with you, and I'm scared. I'm feeling scared right now
Yeah.
to share this. And that's rather than jumping right into the thing,
Yeah.
what's really going on is I feel scared. I want to communicate with you, and I feel scared too.
Oh, that reminds me of something you taught me years ago too, where I sometimes start with, I'm making up a little story and I would like to run it by you because I want to make sure that what I'm experiencing is grounded and true. And the person often will say, no, that is not at all what I intended. And it opens a really
Right.
beautiful, non-judgmental conversation.
That's a great one between partners of all kinds. It's, I'm just making up a story here. When I heard that, here's a story I made up. And then it also allows people to get the story is always going to be in the past or in the future.
Mhm.
And when I identify it, then I can step into the present of, oh, and now what wants to happen, which is
Yeah.
completely unknown.
Yeah.
Well, I want to brag about something that we just launched. It's
Please.
been consuming a lot of my creative attention over the past few months. Last month, we just launched our new coaches portal, the Hendrix Coaches Portal, and it's got all of our materials in it, and it's assisted by AI, of course, and which everything is these days.
Mhm.
In a few years, I'll be coming to you largely through AI.
Mhm.
Uh, but if you go into the coaches portal, go to hendrix.com and check out the coaches portal. We've got a lot of people using it already, and you can ask it anything, and you can ask things about your clients and
Wow.
like how do I deal? What's the first session like with a person who has anxiety? What should I do? Or how do I, teach somebody about manifestation in 10 minutes?
Or how can I assist somebody to actually get present and to release the past and the future
So
and
I
see what
type a
comes up?
question and the AI is responding from your
Yes.
philosophy, from your.
Yes, from all of our work, it's got all of our videos,
Yeah.
all of our manuals, all of our books.
Scans
But
through all of our hundreds of videos, and
Do I get a hologram of you talking to me? Like, do I get it?
that's next
yes,
generation,
that's
darling.
right.
I love it. We'll definitely have all the links and all the connections to that. And thank you so much. This has been, I mean, Katie, this has been my favorite hour of my week is my hour with you. So thank you.
Yes, back at you. And what I most love is that we get to live in discovery with each
Yes.
other.
In present.
And we're being current with each other through the whole session. And I think that also, I mean, it opens up the rest of my week. Just I just feel
Mm,
so in the
mm.
flow and energized, and always have more energy than before we started. That's also a key to let you know that you're moving in the right direction. Are you have more energy or less energy?
Correct. Ah, beautiful. Thank you, both of you. I love you. I love you.
Love
Love
you.
you
Thank
too.
you.
Thanks.
Mwah.
Mwah.